Hello and welcome to the Oneapp Academy podcast. This is episode 2, and in this show we are going to explore all things career, growth and success in the world of tech and consulting. I'm your host Abby, and today we are tackling a topic that's very important for so many professionals, and that is how to prepare for and pass your certification exams. Whether you're studying for an Oracle certification, AWS, Microsoft, or any tech credential, the process can feel very overwhelming. But don't worry, I've got you covered with study tips, must-know resources, and also proven strategies to help you succeed. So welcome to the Oneapp Academy podcast. Let's get started. So let's start off with why certification matters. So in today's competitive job market, certifications are your golden ticket. They validate your skills, they boost your resume or your CV, and they give you the confidence to tackle real-world challenges. But here's the thing, they're not just about passing a test. Certification exams are designed to test your understanding of concepts and also your ability to apply them, and sometimes even how well you manage time under pressure. So preparation is key, and what I'm going to do now is break down how to do it right. So first of all, let's look at practical study tips. So the first thing that's important is to understand the exam format. So start by reviewing the exam guide, which is provided by the certification body. For example, if it's Oracle, then Oracle will let you know what resources to use in order to prepare for the exam. There will be an implementation guide if you're taking the implementation exams, and there's also user guides that can help you to understand the business processes. When it comes to things like study topics, it's also important to understand what topics are covered by the exam. So usually when you book, for example, a payables exam for the Oracle certification, then Oracle will let you know exactly which topics are covered in the exam. And this is important because we need to know exactly where to focus our time, what topics do we need to study. So always start off by understanding the exam format, look at the topics and focus your attention on them. The next item is to create a study plan. So break down your preparation into manageable chunks. For example, if your exam is 6 weeks, or if it's in 6 weeks, then try and dedicate specific weeks to different topics. And there are tools out there like Trello or Notion that can give you a simple calendar to track your study progress. And also try to use multiple resources. The great thing about the internet is that there's just so many options when it comes to study. If you are taking the Oracle certification exams, then the number one resource is the Oracle user guides. Some students have just mentioned that they are very detailed. They're very chunky. There's lots of information in them, and they are important, and they do provide valuable information. They are absolutely a valuable resource. But then also try to look for other resource options. So with Oneapp Academy, we have our own bank of study resources, including videos, guides, and also revision kits as well that can help you. Practice tests are also available. And what we try to do is we try to break down the material and the content into a language that students can really understand, because I think it's really important to make sure that whatever you teach your students is taught in a way that is comfortable for them. The next point is practice. So take as many practice tests as you can. So the thing about certifications is that in a lot of cases they are test-based, so there's not too much in terms of assessments that you need to do, practical assessments, on-the-job assessments. It's more just a test and an exam, which is usually multiple choice. So if you can access practice tests, then that can really help you to familiarize yourself with, the exam format and the types of topics that are going to be covered. At Oneapp Academy, we have our own suite of practice tests, which are as close to the real tests as you can get. So if you wanted to gain more information on the resources that we have, then feel free to access our website mentioned on the left below. Also, active learning is important. So if you can actively quiz yourself or create flashcards, rather than just reading or watching videos or taking notes, it's really important to test yourself and what you know. So if you can maybe speak to a friend and have them just ask you some questions, and you can see what sorts of responses you give, and that can just help you to know whether or not you need to focus more time on certain areas. One of the best ways that I find to really solidify my learning is to actually teach someone else. So if you have maybe a colleague or a friend or someone who is sympathetic to you and your study, then just maybe put up a big whiteboard and just teach them certain topics about what you're studying. Build a mind map as well, so you can help to show them what it is you learn, the different topics, how the different topics split into smaller topics. It can help you to understand just the details, and it helps to validate what you already know. It's a really useful way to train, no matter what that training is. It doesn't have to be a certification. Any kind of training can really be boosted by teaching other people what you have learned. And also stay consistent. So if you can dedicate regular, focused time to studying, so whether it's 1 or 2 hours a day, then it can add up and it can really help you to get into good habits and stay consistent. Obviously, don't forget to take breaks. Breaks are important to prevent things like burnout and stress. So if you have other things going on in your life, other challenges, you might have other obligations, then you just have to try to plan study around them and prioritize things as much as possible, really. And when it comes to booking exams, maybe try to book the exam when you're not working on a big project. Maybe wait until the project is over. If you've got something going on in your personal life, then maybe try to book the exam when whatever that is has died down. So let's talk about resources. Depending on the certification that you are pursuing, there are some go-to options which I will cover now. So I've mentioned earlier before that the official training material is important. So you've got lots of resources on the oracle.com website, and those resources are the guides that I mentioned for implementation and user guides. Obviously, once you've gathered the summary information and some of the detailed information that we have provided on our courses, then you can by all means use the other resources like the Oracle guides to help clarify any areas that you might need some clarification on. But what we try to do is provide as much detail as possible so that you don't have to. But if you feel as though you just need to get some confirmation elsewhere, then by all means have a look at the official training documents as well. So I talked about practice tests and mock exams. So at Oneapp Academy we do provide a suite of questions, and within that question bank they cover everything from just knowledge checks to exam style questions. So if you can form study groups in person, then that's always ideal because that can help you to test your knowledge. There are also online communities as well. So within Oracle, we have the Cloud Customer Connect resource, which is vital for linking up with like-minded individuals who are also taking their certification exams. And it can also help to clarify any doubts that you have and also keep you motivated as well. But it really depends on your study style. Some people prefer to study on their own, and that's perfectly fine. Some people prefer to study in groups. Again, it's really based on what's comfortable for you. If you prefer to study on your own, then you may find that the online forums are a little bit more comfortable for you. If you're happy to be studying in groups, then you might have a group that you work with in your team that are also doing certifications. So you can also maybe set up a group chat with them on Teams or a Slack group, just to get the knowledge flowing. And it also helps with collaboration as well. Okay, now that you've studied hard, what about the big day? So here are some tips to ensure that you perform your best on the day of the exam. So the first thing I'd recommend is sleep, and I think most places recommend the same. Don't cram the night before. Just get lots of rest, because a rested mind performs a lot better. Also arrive early to the exam and be prepared. Now, with certification exams, in the old days we had to go to a test centre, which would be like a community group, or a library, or somewhere where we could access the device and log in and take the training, take the test. But nowadays we have lots of other options which don't involve in-person exams. We have options like proctored exams, which are the online virtual exams. Some of you may have experience with them. But, whatever option you choose, obviously you've chosen that option because it's best for you. So obviously arrive early for that exam, whether it's online or if it's in person. If you are doing a virtual exam, then I'd recommend just checking your device, because that's the most important thing. Making sure that you can log into the learning platform or the exam platform. Making sure that you've downloaded any browsers. Sometimes you have to download like a locked down browser, which basically locks down all aspects of your laptop other than the exam screen. So you just want to make sure that you can install that software or any other software. If you're using a work-based laptop, then you just need to be careful, because lots of work laptops prevent you from installing software. So if you have your own personal laptop, that's always a better option for taking exams. Also, read the question carefully. So this is something which goes without saying. Sometimes we get into lots of pressure. That feeling of anxiety can really take over sometimes. So, we just need to be calm, be confident. Just remember that, you're doing the exam because you can do it. You know the core concepts. So try to be calm when it comes to reading the questions, so that you don't miss any tricky questions and you don't, get a simple answer wrong. Also, manage your time. So keep an eye on the clock. Try not to spend too much time on one question. And if it's difficult, if it's challenging, then just mark it and come back to it later. It's really about exam technique here, and this is an extremely critical aspect of taking a certification exam, is really focus on exam technique. So exam technique for me is really about reviewing all the questions first and answering the easiest questions first, because what I'm trying to do is build up that time so that I can focus on the harder questions later on. So as I'm going through the questions, I'll look at a hard question and then I'll just mark it for later. So by the time I've finished, I'll have maybe 70% of the time left, and I've got maybe 4 or 5 questions which are the most challenging, and I can spend the most amount of time on it. Also, stay calm. If you feel stuck, just take a breath. Pretend that you are not in the exam. Pretend that you're just at home or in your study room and, everything's fine. Just try to answer the questions that you're confident about first. And then, like I said, later on, tackle the hardest ones. And then finally, review your answers. Just go over those answers from beginning to end. Try to do it once. don't go over them too many times, because sometimes, in my experience, you feel like you can overanalyze questions, overthink things, and then before you know it, you're changing right answers into wrong answers. So just be confident about what you've done the first time. I tend to find that your brain has a really good way of giving the right answers at the beginning. So try not to change anything. Obviously, if you know the answer, then you're not going to change the answers. But for the tricky ones, just be a bit careful. Okay, so preparing for a certification exam can feel really daunting. It can feel like a marathon. But with the right approach, you can cross that finish line with flying colours, no matter how long it takes you to pass the exam. You know, you might need to retake it once or twice or 3 times. My advice is keep going. You know, in my career, I've had to retake exams several times, and that's just because maybe there's an area that I just need to know a little bit more about. But every time I retake the exam, I find that, you know, I know more. You know, my score gets higher and higher. And that really helps you to become a really good consultant in the end, because you now have so much knowledge and it's embedded in your brain, you know, and you can proudly talk about what you know with people. So, yeah, like I said, just remember that eventually you will pass, and you'll pass with flying colours. Plan ahead, use the best resources. We've got lots of resources on our course website, so feel free to visit us when you can. So I hope today's tips help you feel more confident as you prepare for your next certification exam. If you found this episode helpful, then don't forget to subscribe to the Oneapp Academy channel, and also feel free to share with others who might benefit. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and best of luck on your certification journey.